Because how is this? That American debate. Now, you want to see how the two sides talked about it? Here he is, well, from the Trump perspective, Sean Hannity.
The very first presidential debate is now officially in the books, and the extremely weak, the frail, the confused, kind of angry Joe Biden just got steamrolled by President Trump. Joe flat out refused to answer simple, basic, fundamental questions, unable to respond to the president's beatdowns, and he appeared flustered, irritated, and, well, cranky. Joe, maybe it's past his bedtime, probably stayed up too late, needs his nap.
Doesn't matter when it was written, it was awesome. All right, on the other side of things, over there at kooky town, MSNBC, they, of course, well, they have the sook meter running at 12.
At this point, he's just an angry autocrat who's desperate to hang on to power and who sees the legal threat ahead of him and the potential seizure of assets in his future and the potential foreclosure of Trump Tower, and he's mad, and he does not understand why he has to even sit for a debate or sit for an election.
He thinks
just
the whole
leave
thing
me
is
there.
Beneath him.
Our man in the middle is Joe Hockey. What did you think when you were sitting there watching it all, mate?
What a mess. And it was a mess, and therefore Donald Trump won. Because, as you know, as Americans know, but very few Australians understand, is there are two swinging voters here in America, two undecided voters in America. The first is the person who's trying to decide whether they're going to go out in 0 degrees on the 3rd of November, stand in a queue for 3 hours and vote. And those people will be thinking, what a mess, you're all the same, it's a pox on all your houses, you can all go to hell. And depressing the vote helps Donald Trump. So I think that is a telling factor from last night, that people will generally be disgusted with politics in America and will choose not to vote. And that is helpful to Donald Trump. The second undecided voter is the one that is sitting there at home, might have a ballot paper that's been mailed to them by the state. And what was going to tip them last night is that their particular issue was addressed. And I thought Joe Biden did well on being the anti-Trump candidate. I think he did really well on health. But after that, it was Trump that mentioned issues like Veterans Affairs, defence, concern about the new Green Deal and the cost on jobs. It was Trump that talked about Veterans Affairs, law and order. He went through a list of issues, the Supreme Court and so on, that he owned during the debate. And for Joe Biden, the main response was, well, I'm not Donald Trump and I'll take a different approach. And I just don't think that's enough.
No, I agree completely. Advocacy for your own candidacy. And I think also Trump needs to turn that up a little. But as we've been talking about tonight, look, there's all the people who sat there and watched the full 90-minute mess, but then there are those millions of people who'll only watch the 30-second or 1-minute version of this, which means Correct. They don't get repetition of the fights. They just see, strong fight, strong fight, strong fight. And my view is that particularly some of that stuff where Biden's sort of perfectly wedged. If he embraces the far left, well, then he loses the people in the middle, especially the Latino population, about inferences of socialism. But when he throws, the Bernie bros under the bus, well, if they don't turn up to vote, then there's going to be one hell of a demographic thing that's going to come and get Biden in a few weeks' time.
And look, Paul, the other thing is energy matters in these debates. It really does. Energy does matter. And you've got to fight for people's votes. That's what Donald Trump... I've been saying it repeatedly. He's being desperate to get Joe Biden in the ring. In fact, I wrote on Monday in The Australian that, it may well be a cage fight, and it turned out to be a cage fight. But it felt, I was trying to put myself into the position of a swinging voter here in the United States. And it looked like Donald Trump was fighting for my vote. It looked like Joe Biden was fighting for me to vote. Well, yeah, okay. I'm encouraged to vote, but what am I voting for? And it was Trump that gave me a reason to vote. And I think Joe, he had to go into the fight. He had to put on the gloves and get in there. But he has to come up with some cut-through substantive policy issues to win the merry Milwaukee marginal swinging voter in the swinging state.
Now, as always, you know, the balkanised nature of the news, which I just showed before about the two cable titans that'll try to, you know, pull all of their camp one way or the other. There are two grabs that, again, stand out as those moments that will either, you know, be the ultimate moment that proves everything we believed, or hang on, have a look at this bloke, right? Much of the mainstream media, much of the free-to-air media this morning in their breakfast shows is obsessing on the idea that the president did not admonish white supremacy. This is the exchange that leads to that accusation.
Yeah. I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
Now, that exchange also led to a really profound moment for me, which was Joe Biden wouldn't call out Antifa. Instead, he turned around and said that Antifa was an idea, not an organisation. But most of the breakfast news, they'll choose it, and they're choosing to go with refuses to denounce white supremacy. Is that a reasonable thing to say about what Trump didn't do tonight?
Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
militia.
Just wanted to make that extra point. Sorry, Joe.
You're right. I just think, you know, they were two of the most inarticulate candidates I've ever seen for leadership of a nation. And it's quite frustrating watching them fail to make points. But all you can do is rely on impressions. And during the course of the debate, I just got the impression that Donald Trump had more energy and he was fighting harder for the issues that might have mattered to me. And, you know, there are 1,000 things you could say, Paul, that should have been said. I thought Donald Trump's point about we've done more in 47 months than you've done in 47 years was a really powerful point. But on the other hand, Joe Biden made a number of really powerful points about, you know, Donald Trump being inconsistent. So it cut both ways. But the impression was, in my mind, you know, what is it going to look like in 3 years' time under Donald Trump? What's it going to look like in 3 years' time or 4 years' time under Joe Biden? And I think Donald Trump really needs to prosecute that case in the next two debates, which, by the way, the apologists for Joe Biden are saying, look, let's not have any more debates. I mean, that would be a curse to Joe Biden's campaign if there are no further debates. It would be a mistake. But it certainly, in my view, it worked to the advantage of Donald Trump last night.
All right, so last question. As the man who understands the United States, for those of us sitting a few thousand k's away, what are the things that we should look for about the long-term train of this debate? So basically its effect, it'll only ever go for 24, 48 hours. Do we step outside of the obvious news sources? What are the things that you go looking for about what actually connected?
Well, I think importantly, you know, I look for the engagement of people that have no real interest in politics. Firstly, are they going to vote now? Or are they just going to leave the ballot paper sitting on the lounge room table at home because they're so disgusted about the leadership of America? And if that's the case, Donald Trump wins. And then the second thing is the energy of the two candidates from now until polling day. I think Joe Biden's got to show more energy. He's got to get out there more. Donald Trump talking about tens of thousands of people turning up to his rallies, and Joe Biden isn't able to get anyone there. It got a laugh out of me, but there's an element of truth to it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it comes back to that issue that we talked about just earlier in the week, you know, about the Republicans are out door knocking. They've got the energy. There is a lack of enthusiasm for Joe Biden. There's an enthusiasm to get rid of Donald Trump. There's a lack of enthusiasm for Joe Biden. And all around the community here, with Hillary in 2016, people had bumper stickers, they were on street corners and so on. There's none of that. There's no bumper stickers, there's no enthusiasm for Joe Biden. And And I think that's a real risk for his campaign over the next few weeks.
Good on you, great man. Thank you for doing double time for us this week. We'll talk to you again on Monday. He'll get earlier and earlier until eventually he'll be on at 5 minutes to 9, just on election day. Thank you so much, Joe. Of course, his website, Bondi Partners, is where he does his work, as you can see him here at Sky News.